You ever get the feeling that the government is taking care of everybody else, but who they ought to be taken care of? I'm looking at headlines, and in the House of Representatives here in Florida, they've passed a bill to give a 75% discount on in-state tuition to illegal aliens. And then I look, and out of Washington, they're sending a $1 billion loan guarantee to Ukraine. I want to talk about this and much more with Phil Lucas, the editor of the Bay Bullet. Pull up a chair and join us. So the House of Representatives in Florida has decided that somebody needs a 75% discount for in-state tuition, and those somebodies are illegal aliens, not Americans living in Alabama or Louisiana, illegal aliens. I want to talk about this and much more with Phil Lucas, the editor of the Bay Bullet. Welcome to the Liberty Lounge. Haven't had you here yet.
Good seeing you, Burnie.
Glad to have you. What do you make of this? Why is Speaker Will Weatherford all hopped up to give last year driver's licenses to illegal aliens? This year, he said one of his top priorities was to give in-state tuition for illegal aliens. What's the argument here? What's he up to?
It couldn't be pandering to votes, would it? You think that could possibly be the thing?
Isn't it amazing? The consultants behind those long tables, I can hear them now. The way we need to get a bigger tent is to get Hispanics to vote for us.
Yeah, that's working out for us. I think I'm for discounts for everybody. But, you know, the question is, will they get federal student loans? Will they be put on the hook for that? You know, and I suspect if they'll qualify for an in-state tuition discount, that the feds will make it mighty easy to put them on the hook to the Federal Reserve for the rest of their natural lives.
You know, you think about it, Phil, it's got to tick off everybody. I mean, I can't think of a single Floridian who would say that this is fair. I mean, everybody I've talked to, I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean, why would they do that? Why would our government treat illegal aliens better than Americans from out of state?
Well, I think, you know, that, again, they're going for the votes for a voting block, and they realize that the rest of the voters, they really won't pay attention for more than about 30 minutes, Burnie.
I think on this,
that'll be gone, but the voters will still be there.
I think their electoral calculus is going to be wrong on this one. I really do. Let's think about college tuition. It has skyrocketed.
Yes.
It has skyrocketed.
And why has that happened?
Why has that happened,
Because
Phil?
we're creating a bubble there.
Yeah.
Because we're making easy money like we made for real estate, and the feds took over this racket several years ago under the latest criminal in the Oval Office. They took over the racket of student loans, and what's happened? It's more than what, trillion and a half now?
Yeah.
It's exceeded credit card debt in this country.
When you dump government money into anything, it's going to get a whole lot more expensive. The federal government taking control of education, it reminds me of what Milton Friedman said, the great economist in the 1970s and 80s. He said that if the federal government took control of the Sahara Desert, they'd be out of sand within 5 years.
The Burnie Thompson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.
Gerard Verga fights for justice every day. As a family man who grew up in our community, Mr. Verga wants to bring those values back to our justice system. Vote Verga on August 26th. Political ad paid for and approved by Gerard Verga for judge.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie.
Is your check engine light on?
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Don't pay for diagnostics.
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Transmission services for $49.95.
Free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Find out what's shaking at Lowe's House of Bourbon at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. House of Bourbon, located above the Shrimp Boat Restaurant in historic St. Andrews.
Hi, I'm Darrell Day.
And I'm Burnie Thompson.
You know, we both proudly served our nation in uniform.
And we still serve today on the radio, expanding freedom and protecting the family budget.
And using the airwaves to educate, enlighten, and entertain, and sometimes irritate.
So join us every day and link arms, and let's do our part to restore this republic.
Join me each morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And join me from 11 to 2 on Talk Radio 101.
So what happens when Americans take student loans, not from banks, but from the federal government? What does that do, Phil? And what was the argument?
Well, it puts them in the kind and loving arms of Uncle Sam.
Yeah, not the greedy bankers, but the government, Uncle Sam.
Yeah, who, you know, it's a partnership between that and the central bank and the members of the Federal Reserve to create debt and essentially enslave entire blocks of the population to debt. And in this case, you can't get out of it. You cannot discharge student loans in bankruptcy. You're on it.
You know, it's incredible, isn't it, Phil? Because it also creates a totalitarian police state. I remember a story about 5 years ago. I think President Bush was the president when this occurred. There was a dynamic entry. A SWAT team busted into a home, guns trained, pulled a man and woman. She was naked out of her bed. She tried to cover herself with a sheet. They had the red dots pointed on her. Get down, get down. They broke in to the wrong house. But you know why they broke in? Delinquent college loan debt. And the judge said they didn't have to replace the door they broke down.
Hey, buddy, you know, look, this is serious business. When you have a criminal enterprise running the country, they do what criminal enterprises do. They come in with the guns drawn to get their money.
Now, let's talk about the Federal Reserve, Phil, because a lot of people don't know what it is. I mean, it's no more federal than Federal Express, is it? I mean, this is not a federal branch of the government. I mean, constitutionally, isn't Congress charged with coining money?
That's in the Constitution, but they gave up that duty in 1913, around Christmas time, when who's paying attention at Christmas time? We have bigger fish to fry. We got trees to buy and presents to buy. So they passed it, shares sold for $100 each. It's online, you can go read it. $100 each. And of course, the largest shareholder right now, I believe, is J.P. Morgan. So, you know, when we get a big bailout, when Lehman Brothers gets bought out, Bear Stearns, they sell the whole deal to them for $30 billion and then guarantees it. The Fed guaranteed it to who? The largest shareholder in the reserve.
And this really took off in earnest, didn't it, around the last year of the Bush presidency. And, you know, I'll tell you, people say, Bernie, you know, you're always bashing Barack Obama. Well, I called George W. Bush the worst president of my lifetime for quite a while, and for good reason. Do you know, in the last year of his presidency, we had a $1 trillion deficit and also a Wall Street bailout. We had a president, George W. Bush, that said he was going to violate the free market, he was going to violate free market principles to save the free market system. Think about that while you're making breakfast in the morning. Talk to us a little bit about what the Federal Reserve is.
Federal Reserve is well, it's a cabal of banks. It's a banking organization. So the Congress surrendered its money-making authority to a private corporation. Quasi. I mean, the head's picked by the president, the board approved by our elected officials, and they create money and they funnel money to their members.
They just print $1 trillion a year.
Yeah.
And flood the economy with it.
1.5 more like it right now, 1.7, and they're buying U.S. government debt with it. And they are the bankers of the federal government. So we get a large, bloated federal government that just spends willy-nilly with abandon, and they're financed by the Fed. So we get foreign adventures, we get a huge welfare state, a huge warfare state, and that is finance operation.
You know, Phil, I started reading your columns when I got here back in 2007, and you always talked about inflating the money supply, creative counterfeiting, And you said that it would lead to inflation. And a lot of people said, oh, you know, Phil, you're exaggerating. But look at it now.
No.
The rotisserie chickens I used to be able to get for $4.50 at the big box store.
Hey,
now
buddy,
they're $6.
I went grocery
and
shopping
something.
last night. I got enough for 2 or 3 meals. $90. Gas has doubled under Obama. Have you seen the price of a ribeye? It's like $14.
It's unbelievable, Phil. I mean, so we have it now. We have, you know, my little girl was doing a homework assignment, and she said, Daddy, how do you spell inflation? And what does it mean? And I said, close the textbook, baby. She's 11. I said, inflation is when dollars lose their value because the government prints too many of them, and that causes the prices of things to go up. That's exactly what we're seeing now. What you warned us about since I saw it is now taking place, but the federal government says the inflation index is even. There's no inflation.
No. That number is, you can read John Williams at shadowstats.com. He writes about this. He does reports for corporations, and he has the real number, and he has it running north of 10% and has had it running north of there for some time. He shows unemployment at 22% and has had it there for some time. These are Great Depression numbers. We're in 15 to 25.
And you know, all you have to do, Phil, is understand that the federal government doesn't take into account the price of groceries and the price of gas. If you take those out, you can say there's no inflation.
Yeah.
And if you don't count the people without jobs, you can make the unemployment rate lower. They don't count people without jobs for unemployment rate, and they don't count food and gas on the inflation index, and they say everything's cool in the gang. It's not.
No. If you don't need to turn the lights on, you don't need to eat, there may be low inflation for you.
And look what Obama is saying now. At first, he promised that families would save money with Obamacare. Now he's saying you can afford the increases. You may have to prioritize. You may not need that phone and the cable.
Hey, there's a reason he's the president. He was the approved guy. He's in the bag. He's working for the banks.
It's really remarkable. But Phil, with the reality being so far from his rhetoric, do you think people are starting to wake up?
No.
When will they?
I don't know. When prices, when they wake up and a loaf of bread was 5 times what it was the day before at the end of a week. So that's when they'll wake up. And they won't wake up to who's doing it or why it's happening. They'll wake up because they aren't getting their stuff.
I think of it as almost like we're a nation of frogs. You know, they have the water boiling slowly, and right now it's comfortable. It's a warm bath. But before you know it, it's boiling. And if you don't believe me, take a look at how much you're spending to put gas in your car. Take a look at how much you're spending when you go to the grocery store. And the federal government says there's no inflation? Right.
The Burnie Thompson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie. At Gears, we're proud to offer you a complete transmission service starting at $49.95.
We also offer free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Lifetime warranties?
Transmission services for $49.95.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Gerard Verga wants to bring decency, fairness, and justice back to our courts. On August 26th, vote Verga for judge. Political ad paid for and approved by Gerard Verga for judge.
Find out what's shaking at Lowe's House of Bourbon at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Lowe's House of Bourbon, located above the Shrimp Boat Restaurant in historic St. Andrews.
Let's expand freedom and protect the family budget. You and me, right here every week. And if you like what we're doing, drop me a line at myfreedomradio.com. That's where you can email me and let me know your thoughts. On The Burnie Thompson Show, a Gears production. So Barack Obama and our Congress has sent a $1 billion loan guarantee to Ukraine. I'm with Phil Lucas. Where are we going to get $1 billion? They're borrowing 45 cents on every dollar. We're $17.5 trillion in debt if you don't count unfunded liabilities, promises into the future. What the hell?
Well, the Fed will create some digits on their computer system, and they'll buy some T-bills, and they'll send a check off to, and here's how foreign aid works too, Bernie, you know. It doesn't really go to Ukraine. It goes to, this is corporate welfare. A foreign aid is welfare. They're required to buy something from American corporations, whether it's food or arms or whatever. So it's all funneled through American corporations, and it never leaves the country. It never goes to Ukraine. It's called foreign aid to Ukraine or Israel or Egypt. In Israel, they buy jets, or they buy tanks, or they buy food, they buy something, farm implements, and it's all spent right here in this country, subsidizing corporations here, and the goods are sent overseas.
Tho Bishop made the argument that the $1 billion loan guarantee to Ukraine will actually benefit Vladimir Putin.
Well, he's a large creditor of that country, supplies them energy, and made him a $15 billion loan recently. And then he got the shaft when we installed a new government via a coup, and now we're maybe paying him back a little to keep him out of our throats. I don't know.
Phil, you're a words guy. Words matter, and words are being toyed with in the United States of America, especially by President Pied Piper, the valorous one, Barack Obama, the redresser of all wrongs and abuses. He now says that we can go to the marketplace and buy insurance, that we have so many more options. But you know, Phil, the marketplace is healthcare.gov. He calls the government the marketplace. If I were to walk into Best Buy and the guy greets me and said, "Welcome to the government," I would walk up to the guy and say, what's going on in your head? Why would you say that? I'm in Best Buy. I'm not in. So when I go to the government and they say, "Welcome to the marketplace," the marketplace was when we went to the yellow pages to find a doctor. I looked at a headline the other day in a major newspaper, and it talked about the federal marketplace. Is that an oxymoron or what?
Well, that was written by a newspaper editor, Bernie. I am a newspaper editor. They don't know what's going on any more than anybody else.
A federal
when they
marketplace.
do what knows going on, they're in the bag. They're shills for the state. There is no market. If there's no competition, in my mind, my definition of it, if there's no competition, there is no market. It's a monopoly. You go there. You have just those choices. And I'm in the marketplace. I have private insurance. And my agent comes see me last week and says, "Hey, you'll have to pay a penalty because the insurance we have doesn't have all the guarantees that the federal marketplace has."
Right. In other words, the insurance you had last year and the year before that you liked, that you could go to your doctor with,
Sure.
it didn't cover everything. You couldn't go to a gynecologist until now.
Yeah, well, there's a great disappointment to me. Mine doesn't cover sex change operations.
Really?
Well, bummer. Well, it's way too late for that. And it doesn't cover abortions. It doesn't cover this kind of thing. My policy doesn't cover what's required under the feds. So I'll have to pay a penalty, and you know what? I'm paying it.
Yeah,
I'm sticking with what I have.
It's pretty incredible. And you think about what marketplace, what store could say, if you don't buy this by March 31st, we're going to fine you. We're going to charge you a penalty. I mean, how is it that the American people have come to accept these kind of word games?
Well, they've been educated. They've been educated.
Government schools is your answer.
They've been educated. They've been taught to believe in the goodness, the sanctity, and power of their masters.
I believe that the project of government schools is to graduate kids at 18 not knowing the first thing about civics, economics, or history. Because why would the government teach against its own interest, against its own growth and its own power?
Hey, buddy, I used to give a test to incoming applicants, asked them to name the 3 branches of the federal government. These are college graduates. I'm a newspaper editor. Half of them couldn't name the 3 branches, let alone what they did.
My goodness, I saw a poll the other day. College students could not name 1 U.S. senator. There are 100 of them, Phil, and they didn't know how many there were. These are college students. But
they probably thought we had 57 states too.
Yeah,
that's the president, brother.
Yeah, exactly right. Let's talk a little bit about the economy. We've lost opportunity. We've lost prosperity. Incentives have been perverted. Dollars are no longer earned and productive. They are now political and awarded. What should we be doing today to fix this economy?
Getting the federal government, first of all, out of the money business. Get Congress back in it. Let them take responsibility for inflation.
People who are accountable.
They got off that hook by creating the Federal Reserve. Second of all, get out of the business of managing the economy. It's difficult. It's impossible for a group of bureaucrats, even really smart people, to manage an economy efficiently, because you and I are out there making decisions every day on what you have and will I buy it and I'll go somewhere else, and we set prices. We set prices through market interaction, millions and trillions of them a day. And you get somebody trying to manage that, set a price, like in healthcare, which is what they're doing with this, trying to set a price. All it'll do is lead to a reduction in quality and a reduction in quantity.
Absolutely.
We'll have fewer choices, and it will be much more expensive.
And that's because central planners, the command and control types, the ones who think they know all the answers if they just push the right buttons and pull the right levers, they lack the knowledge to do that. The knowledge that 300 and some million Americans have pursuing our own interests. F.A. Hayek, one of the great economists of the 1970s, he was the Nobel Peace, or the Nobel economist, rather, in, I think, 1972. He talked about that very thing. He called it the fatal conceit of the central planners, because they don't have the information.
The Burnie Thompson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.
Find out what's shaking at Lowe's House of Bourbon at the Shrimp Boat Restaurant. Lowe's House of Bourbon, located above the Shrimp Boat Restaurant in historic St. Andrews.
Gerard Verga wants to bring decency, fairness, and justice back to our courts. On August 26th, vote Verga for Judge. Political ad paid for and approved by Gerard Verga for Judge.
If you need your car worked on, take it where I get my car worked on. Gears Transmissions. Whether it's your engine, your brakes, or a $49 transmission special, Gears Transmissions will take care of you. And you know you're never going to get upsold. You're never going to get swindled. And you'll get to meet my friend Jay, my good friend Jay, who, by the way, if you like what we're doing here on the Whiskey Rebellion, this is part of Gears Productions. Gears Transmissions you can find online at gearstransmissions.com or in Panama City near the mall. Just about a mile up 231 toward Interstate 10. On your left, it's right by the Dollar General. It looks like we're going to have to do it ourselves if we want to do what other states are doing, and that is tell the federal government to step back. You don't get to rule our lives. You don't rule over us. As states, if it is not in this Constitution, we are telling the federal government, you don't have the authority to make us do it. And I'm looking at, I want to tell you, though, what a tough climb that's going to be if we leave it up to the Florida legislature. Even the author of the Second Amendment Preservation Act, he must have been flogged, because now he's apologizing for doing such a thing. And he's blaming people like you and me. He's blaming the grassroots. This is a letter written to the Florida 10th Amendment Center. And in this letter, he says that many of the advocates for the Second Amendment Preservation Act, quote, created an air of suspicion within the Capitol. Suspicion that some advocates care less about the Second Amendment than they do causing divisions among like-minded people. Listen, I don't know how there could have been an air of suspicion in the Capitol. There was nobody there when the citizens walked through looking for the legislators. But the NRA and Don Gates, the president of the Senate, if there is an air of suspicion in the Capitol, I'm telling you, it's the people. We are suspicious of you. You gotta imagine how much pull the NRA has, how much power the president of the Senate has, when over in the House, the guy who drafted the bill is writing a letter saying, I'm sorry, and then going to say, changing the dynamic between the relationship of the federal government and the state governments will require the conversion of our friends and neighbors with sweet words of collegiality, not the rude hammer and coercion of state powers. Well, let me tell you something. I'm getting a little tired of asking please. I'm getting a little tired of asking any politician or any bureaucrat, please respect the rights that God gave us. And let me tell you this, Representative Dane Eagle and the rest of you who penned this letter, we do not use the rude hammer of coercion by state power. You do. You're in the legislature. You're the government. All we can do is what we're going to do next year, and that is not wait around for you. I'm telling you, we have an opportunity. It is our time in the world. We can petition for signatures. We can write a state amendment to the Constitution, and we can tell the federal government to step back. We don't need you in the state legislature. And one thing we learned with the Second Amendment Preservation Act is we can't count on you.
The Burnie Thompson Show Whiskey Rebellion is brought to you by Gulf Imaging. Have your doctor refer you to the #1 diagnostic facility in Bay County for MRIs, CAT scans, and digital mammographs. Gulf Imaging, Open MRI. Waterstone Apartments. Each home includes a full-size washer and dryer, spacious walk-in closets, and high-end appliances. Waterstone Apartments on North Jenks in Panama City. Bay Dental Center. If you've been putting off going to a dentist because your teeth are in bad shape, let my dentist take care of you. Dr. Colias at baydentalcenter.com.